It's 3 a.m. in South Korea. May 27th of 2023, so literally like a month ago. A taxi driver pulls over to pick up a young girl and her suitcase. He pops open the trunk. He even offers to help her put it into the trunk, but she's like, no, I'm good, don't worry, it's not a big deal, I can do it by myself. She puts it in the trunk, closes it, slides into the back seat, and he glances at her in his rearview mirror. It's kind of late to be going on vacation, and on top of that, her destination isn't even to an airport or a bus terminal or anything like that. It's to the local park near the river. But who is he to judge?
What time was it?
3 a.m.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was just thankful that it was a pleasant, polite, nice young lady rather than a drunk businessman, which is typically the clientele at 3 a.m. He drives quietly to the park. She directs him where to stop the car, and she pays him. She slides out of the back seat and hauls her own suitcase out of the back of the trunk. Again, it looked really heavy, really, really heavy. She said, no, don't worry about it, sir. I can do it myself. I mean, the physical strength of the youth never ceased to amaze this taxi driver. They say their goodbyes, and he watches with a little bit of curiosity as she practically skips into the park towards the grassy field. What a strange, strange girl. She looked like what? A middle schooler? A high schooler at most. She looked really young. I mean, what is she even doing alone at this hour? And where is she going with the suitcase in the park? He decides to take a smoke break right then and there. He honestly thought that she probably would need a ride back. I mean, no taxi was going to stop in the middle of the park for her to get onto the taxi. It's near the river at 3 a.m. I think nothing good can happen to a young girl roaming around looking for a ride at this time. So he's smoking it up and he looks up. It's been about, 15, 20 minutes? And there she is again. And he's just watching her as she walks out of the park towards him, and her suitcase looks very light all of a sudden. Because, earlier it was dragging on the wheels. It was kind of forcing her body to lean a little bit forward to pull it. And now it's practically flying around as she's moving it about. The girl asked him for a ride back. The whole energy seemed strange. It seemed like she didn't even notice that it was the same taxi driver, and he kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror as he drove her to her destination. Something in his gut told him, this isn't right. Like something feels wrong. Where would she have gone with that suitcase, and why would it be lighter coming out of the park? Nobody just throws away their clothes in the park. She might be a middle schooler, but there is this energy about her. He would alert the police, and they found that she had been transporting a victim's dismembered body from the victim's own apartment to that very park. The taxi driver had unknowingly transported dismembered human remains, in the trunk of his car. He had sat in the car with a young baby-faced killer, not once, but twice.
Wait, he called the police just because how suspicious it was?
They searched the grassy field in the park.
Wow.
This case has recently gone viral in Korea for a number of reasons. I mean, just the brazenness of the crime, the CCTV footage of the killer looking like a happy person. I'm going to show this to you. She's just skipping around with dismembered remains in her suitcase. She's got a cute little bob, and it's almost bouncing about. People say it's so unsettling because she has this childlike mannerism to her, this energy to her. There's dismembered remains in the suitcase. But also, the fact that the killer was stated to have an unhealthy fascination with serial killers and an obsession with true crime documentaries. She killed, dismembered, and disposed of a victim because she, quote, just wanted to see what it feels like to kill. Full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com, but this is a developing case, and as always, this is the information that we have as of now. Things could change, they could get worse. I don't know if we'll get too much information considering the privacy laws in South Korea. Also, as per South Korean laws, the victim of this case and her family have chosen to stay anonymous, so throughout this case, we will refer to her with the alias of Hannah. And with all foreign cases, we had our Korean researchers work on this case to get as much of what we could that's out there and compile it in this video for you guys, so let's get into it. The victim, Hannah, was a young woman in her 20s. She was tutoring high schoolers in English. I would not say tutoring is an easy job in South Korea. It's a very serious job. Parents are picky over-involved, very diligent in picking the absolute perfect tutor for their perfect children whom they believe are entitled to be the next Einsteins. So it's a difficult job, but Hannah liked it. She was a university student at a prestigious school. It worked well with her schedule, and it made it easier for her to get a tutoring position to begin with. And she liked being able to help these grade schoolers get interested in English. She made the whole process fun for them and just wanted to be like a cool tutor. That was her genuine vibe. That's her goal. So in 2023, with all of the available apps out there, there is a platform for tutors. Tutors will sign up and they will be verified by the platform for having the specific credentials. They will verify with the school that they're a student. They will verify their transcripts, grades, everything to make sure that these tutors that are online are being advertised, their background checks. It's basically a tutor securing app that parents are obsessed with. Parents will go on there and they will look for tutors in every single subject for their elementary, middle school, and high school kids. The demand for English tutors was actually pretty high, and the pay was fairly good. So Hannah had a lot of parents messaging her, inquiring about her services, including the mom of a middle school student, who was, this mom was very adamant about hiring Hannah. Originally, Hannah declined this mother's offer because her house was so far away from Hannah's. I mean, she naturally wanted something closer because why commute if you don't have to? So she said, thank you so much. Like, I'm sure that your middle schooler will find a great tutor, but it's just too far for me. This mom really seemed to like Hannah, though. She even offered to send her daughter to Hannah's house, drop her off for these English sessions. Hannah kind of felt bad. I mean, the mom seemed really desperate for her daughter to have an English tutor. Maybe she had an exam coming up. Maybe she was the only tutor that seemed to fit the mom's profile. It was strange, but she found it hard to say no. Besides, she really did like tutoring. She really did like helping students. May 26th of 2023, Friday, right around dinner time, so right around 6 p.m., Hannah slowly gets her house ready because this is the first day that this student is going to come over and they're going to tutor in English together. So she's cleaning up, wiping the table down, and she hears a knock on the door. She peers through the little camera and she sees a preteen student, a middle schooler. Kind of short bob haircut that's curled outwards like how middle schoolers do it. It kind of stopped at her chin. Her glasses would make her cheeks look even rounder. And in many situations, I think most people would look at this face and think, oh, like what a cute middle schooler. She's got like cute little cheeks. And she's standing there wearing her school uniform. So Hannah opens the door and she's ready to start tutoring. There would have been no way for Hannah to have known that this little middle schooler that she had just let into her home was not actually a middle schooler. Chung Yu-jung was her name. She was not a middle schooler. Yu-jung was not 12 or 13 or even 14 or 15 years old, but rather 23 years old. She could have potentially been older than Hannah. We don't know the victim's precise age. The middle school uniform that she was wearing was purchased at a thrift store, and underneath it, she was hiding a knife. Within minutes of entering, Yu-jung established that Hannah lived alone. She pulled out her knife and viciously stabbed Hannah. She repeatedly stabbed Hannah in the neck, only on like a particular spot/side. That's what a lot of the reports said, which would later indicate to a lot of psychiatrists that she had researched where to stab. She knew what she was doing. She also stabbed the same area on the neck over 20 times. Once the 23-year-old pretending to be a middle schooler finished killing the victim, she relished in the satisfaction of a job well done. She would spend the greater part of the evening at Hannah's apartment, possibly pretending as if this was her own apartment, even changing into the jacket that Hannah wore. She took a jacket out of Hannah's closet and wore it the rest of the night. The jacket that you see on CCTV camera is Hannah's jacket. CCTV cameras would catch this 23-year-old Yu-jung going in and out of Hannah's apartment, going back and forth from her own place, hauling cleanup tools, and other times she would bring a suitcase, which indicates that while everyone believes that this is a premeditated murder, she was underprepared. But more shocking than that was that she was caught on CCTV looking very relaxed. She's taken taxis to and from Hannah's place, to her place, to the store to buy supplies. She's bringing around giant suitcases from her house to Hannah's house. She's going to a local store buying bleach, knives, trash bags.
That's crazy to me because Korea, you're saying there's camera every corner.
Korea is like the city. I'm sure it's similar in China and maybe Japan, like the city of CCTV.
What?
I don't understand either. Yeah. We're going to go down kind of a few conspiracy routes later, but it gets weird. She brings this suitcase and all these supplies back to Hannah's, and she gets to dismembering the victim. She spends the rest of the night and into the early hours of the morning doing this. She then stuffs unspecified parts of the victim's body into a suitcase and hauls a cab. And again, just seeing her with that suitcase out in the streets, just the way that she's walking is so nonchalant. She's almost practically skipping. People say she almost has this childlike demeanor, meaning that if we were to bump into her in the street, we would probably think, oh my God, I just bumped into like a little high schooler. Oopsie, sorry. Like, oh, she looks cute and innocent. She very much had a girl next door, sweet, innocent appearance that had viewers and netizens absolutely floored when they found out what was in that suitcase. Around 3 p.m., she puts the luggage into the trunk of a taxi, directs the driver to drop her off near a wooded area near Hopo Station. This is near like the Nakdong River, and reportedly the killer, Yu Jung, she loved going on walks in this park. This was her favorite spot. She gets dropped off by the taxi driver, walks into the grassy area, and starts scattering the remains of Hannah. Seoul University forensic professor would say that even the grassy location by the Nakdong River could have been planned. The tall grass by the water, it holds a lot of insects and disinfectants, like I'm assuming it's like pesticides, that would accelerate the decomposition of the body parts within a week. So if she had not been caught by then, there's a high chance the body would have been hard to recognize or even how to ID the body. Professor Yu is quite certain that she knew about all of this, which is why she chose to go this far with the body and even get in a taxi to scatter the remains at this park. Perhaps her frequent walks around this park made her familiar with the area. It made her want to leave a body here. Now, it's all going according to 23-year-old Yu Jung's plan, except the taxi driver. She believed the taxi driver would not be able to tell the difference between a girl traveling with luggage for vacation at 3 a.m. versus a girl traveling with luggage full of body parts. The taxi driver would call the police, and it was very quickly traced back to Yu Jung. In a show called We Want to Know in Korea, it was revealed that another bystander actually saw Yu Jung throw away this huge trash bag of bloody blankets, bloody leggings, before she walked away with her rolling suitcase. Again, just 5 hours later, she was arrested.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah. Now, side note, there was a rumor circulating that the taxi driver had gotten out to help Yu Jung unload her luggage from the trunk, and as he was trying to help her, he had touched the luggage and felt that it was wet upon impact. The rumor was that he got back into the taxi, and you know how like the car lights turn on when you open the door?
Yeah.
And he briefly glanced at his palms and they were dripping with blood. That is a rumor. From what I can tell, someone anonymously came out and said that they were a colleague of the taxi driver, and that didn't happen. He just noticed that the weight difference and where she was going and all these suspicious things added up for him to call the police. He did not see blood. He did not feel blood.
You know, like, for him to call the police, he must have some kind of...
like, that gut feeling that you're like, I know I'm not going to be able to sleep at night. And it must have been so strong.
And that must be really, really
Yes.
bad. I wonder if he's actually thinking, oh my God, is this a body?
Yes. I did see a lot of netizens say the fact that it's speculated it was a male taxi driver. The fact that a male taxi driver that has probably seen so much in South Korea, so many bizarre things at 3 a.m., 4 p.m., 5 a.m., you know, any time of the day. But this little girl with luggage unsettled him so much. Because I think it's one thing if a girl is driving and there's like a creepy man with luggage, we're already on guard. There's always this feeling of like, I always think something is wrong. But for him to be this upset and unsettled by what looks to be a middle school girl, it must have been bad. There must have been some sort of, and I hate to say it, like some sort of energy that she was giving off, like some sort of weirdness that was happening. So the police rush to the field where they find the scattered remains, and with the help of the taxi driver describing what she looked like, approximately where he picked her up and where he dropped her off, she was quickly located and arrested.
출동해서 이제 체크해다 보니까 출동해보니까 또 우리 금정구에 가보니까 또 내 산적이 있는 거예요. 그래서 이제 거기서 지금
Authorities asked her, why would you do this? How could you do this? Who did you do this to? Because at this point, they did not have an idea of the victim. Now, upon arrest, Yu Jung seemed very calm and collected. She was young, just 23 years old, but when the police were questioning her, she didn't seem that alarmed. She just very calmly explained, well, the dismembered remains that you saw, if you must know, they were my baby. I delivered a baby at home, and I killed it because I don't want to be a mom, obviously. I'm young, I was going through a psychotic break, and I killed the baby and scattered the remains. I'm not sure how she thought that she could get away with a lie like that, because very easily you could pick up some of the remains. I'm sure that there are medical examiners that can give you like a brief, hey, that's not a baby's bone. I'm also not sure how she had so much confidence, even though this is so easily medically debunkable. I mean, her body doesn't even have evidence that she was even pregnant. So after arresting her, the authorities also found Hannah's ID nearby. This was left near the remains, along with some bloody clothes and other body parts. So now they know who the victim is. They go back to Hannah's apartment, they find more evidence of the crime, and they tell Yoo-jung, like, that's not your baby, we know it's not your baby, give us the real truth. That's when she starts complaining of stomach pain. She's like, ooh, my stomach hurts. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Because she's in police custody. See, this is where the police are better than me. Because if you've committed like a blatant murder and you're telling me that your stomach hurts, you never told me that. You and your stomach can hurt for the rest of the interrogation. You're not gonna die, okay? Why should I care about you when you don't care about human life? But because she's under police responsibility, they rush her to the hospital, and surprise, surprise, she's lying. There's nothing wrong with her. So after the hospital debacle, the police bring her back into the interrogation room and they ask her about the events of the previous night. The police also take her phone and they start searching through it, and they just have so many questions. Did you know the victim? Did you target this victim? Why would you do this? How long have you been planning this? Are there other victims? Are you working with someone? She clearly was not being the most honest person, so the police, they start going through her phone, and we're gonna come back to all of her lies, but let's go through the phone first. The police check her phone hoping to get some answers. They found a colorful search history where she had searched online for tips on how to hide a corpse. She also had watched a ton of true crime documentaries, allegedly feeding off on, it said that she just really wanted to know what it felt like to kill. Yeah, we're gonna get back to it. But something the police rarely see was that her phone was empty. Just like everything. Not like she had wiped her phone and deleted everything, but digital forensics revealed that Chung Yoo-jung, her phone, she was not in contact with a single person. She had no contacts in her cell phone, which I know some people don't save contacts, but she had no messages, no calls coming in or out, none, nothing, no friends, no family, no social media interactions, no one was contacting her. In this day and age of 2023, how nearly impossible is that? She was truly almost like a ghost. Chung Yoo-jung was born in 1999, very young. She, like a lot of people, was born into a pretty volatile house. Her parents were always busy working. They were too busy to take care of her. She was sent off to live with her grandfather, and he was the exclusive sole guardian throughout her entire childhood, which I think is interesting. So in a lot of cultures, and Korean culture as well, it's common for grandparents to move in and raise the grandchildren while the parents are busy working. But her grandfather was listed as her sole guardian. So, I mean, that to me indicates whether her parents were divorced or they were not present at all in her life. If it was to the extent of negligence or abandonment, I'm not sure. But the fact that her grandfather was listed as her sole guardian, I think something must have happened with her parents. I'm sure it probably impacted her in some way to not have her parents around, to not having this loving dynamic that a lot of kids have. But I mean, it's been proven time and time again that a child's first example of a relationship is with the parent. So, we don't know. It's just something to consider. Ultimately, we have no idea what happened, if anything, but we know that it wasn't the most stable home. Regardless, growing up, Yoo-jung was regarded as a very specific word that I've never really heard in cases. Invisible. Not just quiet, not just shy, not just introverted, but invisible. Her former classmates said if you said hi to Yoo-jung in the hallway, like if you waved her in the hallway, she would never say anything back. She wouldn't even smile back. She wouldn't nod in acknowledgement. She wouldn't even wave back. She would basically just ignore your existence. They said that Yoo-jung never spoke or replied to any of her classmates. So if you were a classmate and you were asking her a question and she knows you're asking her a question, the room is silent and you go, hey Yoo-jung, can you pass me that? She wouldn't even look at you. She would not respond to you. If it was an elder, like a teacher, authority figure, or even a neighbor, if they asked her a question, she would avoid eye contact and answer just yes or no. Outside of school, Yoo-jung never even left her home. Neighbors reported almost never seeing her out, walking around, hanging out with friends, going on walks with her grandpa, inviting friends over. Nothing.
내가 있는 건 아는데 내가 잘 몰라요. 한 두 번 봤나? 이 집을 안에 들어가서 내가 보니까 좀 내성적인 게 있을까? 뭐 이거 한 번 왔다 갔다 하면 들어가 버리면 한 번씩 말을 걸면 마지못해서 고개를 했거든.
It's stated, and this is kind of random and super specific, but Yoo-jung hated talking to people, but if she were at the convenience store and she was owed like a penny back in change, most Koreans stated that they just wouldn't ask for the change. They'd be like, oh, keep the change, because they don't want to walk around with this penny. They don't know exactly what to do with this penny. It's just kind of a hassle. Yoo-jung, the person who hates talking, would ask for that penny back no matter what. That was like the one time she was very vocal. She was like, give me my penny back. Which is fine, she's entitled to it, but people just thought it was kind of interesting to note. Contrary to a lot of speculation, former classmates also stated Yoo-jung was absolutely never bullied. So as far as we know, nobody picked on her. Nobody forced her to retreat into her shell and go unnoticed. Nobody verbally, physically hit her. Nobody bothered her because she wouldn't even wave back at you. It's like she would just float through her childhood like a ghost. This seems to be like a choice that she made for whatever reason. She would be so good at being unnoticeable that she could walk into a room and no one would look up or even hear anything. Her presence was unknown. She was unseen. She was unremarkable in almost every way. We have no idea if she desperately desired to talk or to say something or wanted someone to listen to her, as if she was invisible and she didn't want to be. She couldn't stop. Maybe her brain blocked that part of her life or blocked that part of her socialization. I don't know. Or on the flip side, you could argue that this was a choice. She didn't like people. This was her own little rebellion to not talk to people. She was deliberately ignoring them. But she did kind of unsettle her former classmates. So they never bothered to get to know her, but they reported that she would sit behind curtains alone. So like imagine there's a curtain, she would just sit behind it. Just like hiding herself, but not really hiding herself, because you would see that there is a human behind the curtain and then you would look at the shoes and then you'd be like, why is Yoo-jung behind the curtain? Sometimes you would hear crunching noises from behind the curtain and she would just be behind the curtain eating snacks.
커튼 뒤에 항상 좀 가 있고 진짜 간식을 먹을 때도 막 커튼 뒤에서
보건자가 아니고 그냥 반에서 지금 존재가 없는 애였는데 그 당시에 친구가 없었고 해도 인사 자체를 받아주지 않는 친구였고.
A professor named Lee Soo-jung was interviewed about this case, and as an expert in teen psychology and behavior, they stated that she had unusual behavior for a teenager. They said that adolescent ages are a time of pure curiosity of your peers. You want to know what your peers have to think, have to say about everything, how they dress. You want to get to know everyone your age. You have this like innate desire to understand them because you want to be part of your peers.
This is not like anything we've heard.
Yeah, this one's very weird. And it's gonna get weirder. So far it's weird, but it gets weirder. The professor stated that if they were to evaluate this type of behavior, they would categorize it as psychopathic tendencies and/or behavior that is being displayed at an early age. So Yoo-jung puts in as much effort into her schoolwork as she does getting to know her classmates. Another thing that stood out to former classmates is that Yoo-jung was never angry. She was never upset. She was never depressed. She never had this like passion against everyone, like, oh, I don't want to talk to any of you guys because you don't understand me. I stand out. I'm different. She never had that. She just seemed so utterly neutral about everything, so incredibly passively indifferent. And in hindsight, a lot of people said that might be scarier. But she still managed to graduate in 2018 from the Gyeonggi Girls High School. She had no clue what she wanted to do with the rest of her life, which, is very normal. But she also had zero intention of trying to explore things and figure it out. After she graduates high school, Yoo-jung had no social outlet. She had nothing on her schedule that would force her to interact with people, with teachers, like high school did. Like, she doesn't have college. She has become totally disconnected from society the day she graduates high school. She would stay in her room all day, no connection with anyone. She would tell her grandfather that she was holed up in her room studying for the public government official exam. But it is clear Yoo-jung used this as a delay tactic, an excuse to have in her back pocket if her grandfather ever noticed that she has no social life, that she's not getting a job, that she has no plans for her future. She would just milk the crap out of studying for this exam for the next 5 years. Every day it was, oh, Grandpa, I'm studying for the entrance exam. She was receiving financial support from her grandfather while she studied. He expected that she would pass, and afterwards she would find a job and she would get paid and hopefully pay him back for all the hard work that he's done because he's a grandfather now. And I'm sure that there were even moments that the grandfather was proud of her because she never spent time hanging out with friends or just doing nothing. She was always studying. She seemed so dedicated to her studies. Now, if you think that he's in on it or gullible or that he should have known, it's a different generation. He didn't even know that you needed to have a college-level proficiency in English to even qualify to take the exam, which Yoo-jung was clearly not proficient in English, and that's kind of something that is pretty easy to tell, and it might be why she chose her victim. Now, we're going to circle back to that. In 2017, Yoo-jung applied multiple times for a job as a golf caddy. She submitted her resume and wrote, "After leaving high school, I started preparing for the college entrance exam. I enjoy being active and meeting other people, and I really want to try this role. Thank you." But once she got a call for an interview, she did not say a single word. Even when the interviewer asked her standard interview questions, it was silence on the other line. Silence. She refused to talk. The recruiter was so confused because she's like, you applied for the job. Why won't you talk? Because you applied for the job. It didn't look good in the recruiter's eyes, and of course, she didn't get the job. But when she found out that she was rejected from the position, she went as far as to call them back and curse them out for their decision. She kept demanding to know why. Why was I rejected? And they didn't really want to tell her because, well, you were strange. You didn't respond to any of the questions. We thought you were a little weird. They didn't want to say that. So they just said, oh, well, we're looking for an English speaker and you're not proficient in English. It is speculated that Yoo-jung started developing a hatred for those who were good at English. And maybe this is why she ended up online searching for English tutors to murder.
Wow.
Her victim, Hannah, was a young, successful, accomplished university student at a prestigious school who was also an English tutor. She was everything that Yoo-jung was not, and that may have been why she was targeted. Now let's talk about her true crime obsession. But first, why was she even obsessed? Because of the lack of any contact on Yoo-jung's phone after she was taken in by the police, the word hikikomori has been coming up in discussions about her case. And quick disclaimer, I don't think that Yoo-jung was, but there is a connection. We've talked about this previously on the Japanese serial killer cases that we've covered, but since that's been like over a year, let me give you a refresh. In Japanese culture, there is a phenomenon right now where adolescents and young adults have become very reclusive. Usually after graduating high school and into their adult lives, they will live in basically voluntary solitary confinement, usually in their parents' home. Some of them will go years without even talking or running into their own family members that they live with in the same apartment. Not massive white house with a west wing and an east wing. I'm talking a 3-bedroom apartment. Many of them stated they will coordinate their comings and goings out of their room to not run into a single human being. Sometimes these people will also go decades without seeing anyone outside of their immediate family members. Now, according to the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, side note, there is no good translation of hikikomori, but the Japanese government has defined it as the state of avoiding social engagement, education, employment, and friendships with generally persistent withdrawal into one's residence for at least 6 months as a result of various factors. So while it's pretty difficult to get exact numbers, estimates say that there are at least over 1 million hikikomori in Japan alone, probably close to 1 million in South Korea, and potentially millions in China. And it's become such a problem for Japan and really everywhere else, but the Japanese government even released a guide for the hikikomori on what to do in the event that their parent passes away.
Oh, for them.
Yeah. Because there was a case where a hikikomori, his mom had passed away in the house and he did not report her body or do anything. So I was looking through a Reddit forum to understand the mindset of the community, and I don't think that Yoo-jung is one of them. And I want to clarify that hikikomori are not dangerous people. Yoo-jung is not one of them. I mean, she could go out. She liked to take her little walks in the park. The only same consistency that they have is that they had no social interactions with people. There is a Redditor who wrote, if something forced me to go outside, like a sudden fire inside my house, I would be unable to step outside into the world. Another Redditor said, see, it sneaks up on you. You think it's okay for a month, and then you do it for 6 months, and you think it's not that bad. Then you do it for a year, and then 2 years, and then you realize that all of your peers are light years ahead of you economically, socially, mentally. You feel like there's no way you can even try to catch up now. So what's the point? It's been known to psychologists that the more one doesn't socialize, the less they know how. It's something that you can technically forget. It's like talking. You have to learn to talk again. And it's this vicious cycle of not socializing for even longer because you forget how to do it and then repeat and repeat. It's happening in Japan, China, South Korea, the United States. Some behavioral scientists have credited this retreat from society to the overwhelming pressure of succeeding in Asia's work culture after high school. So in China, some people actually attribute it also to the fact that the population has profoundly more men than women, saying that this puts so much pressure on men looking for partners, whereas women can be a lot more selective. So these men decide, I don't even want to partake in this game that society plays. I want to completely withdraw. So why is this happening all of a sudden in this day and age? Because of technology. So back then, there were hikikomori in Japan, and most of them would read manga, they would watch like DVDs and stuff. But now with the internet, people feel like they really don't have to go outside. Everything can be done online. They can watch shows, they can watch YouTube videos, they can talk to people anonymously without the threat of feeling exposed or vulnerable. They can go to safe forums that they can communicate with. They can do everything online, especially in places like South Korea, Japan, and China, where everything can be delivered at your fingertips in record time. It's so easy to never leave. I mean, it's gotten so bad. There's actually services where you can hire young, pretty women, and typically they're hired by parents of hikikomori, and they'll come and try to talk to the predominantly male community. Like, they'll come and talk to your son and try to lure him out of his room. Yeah. It's estimated that this phenomenon is affecting millions of people around the world, and it's honestly very heartbreaking. It's a very lonely existence, I imagine. And again, I don't think that Yoo-jung can be fully categorized as hikikomori, but regardless, she probably felt the effects of the lack of social connection and almost complete social isolation, which risk of that is mental health issues like depression, anxiety, substance abuse. You can even get chronic conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, higher risk of dementia because you're not socializing. And again, just another disclaimer, like most mental illnesses, the hikikomori lifestyle, I mean, this is typically only detrimental to the person themselves and maybe perhaps their family members who have to interact with them and try to provide for them and help them. But most of the time, they are just non-violent, introverted, modern-day hermits. There were a lot of hikikomori that were interviewed, and they said, you know, it didn't matter because it just started like 1 or 2 days. I would just stay in my room and be on the internet, and I thought, this is nice, I like it. And then it was a month, and then they were thinking, this isn't too bad. And then 6 months crept in, a year crept in, 2 years crept in, and then a lot of them report feeling like it was too late. Like they had already ruined their life. They felt like I already spent the most formative years, the most important years of my career. There's no way I can get a job in the competitive Asian work economy. Like people just out of college, of prestigious colleges, they can't even get a job. I've been doing nothing for the past 5 years. How am I going to get a job? A lot of them report deteriorating health, a lot of weight gain, and, you know, when you're in your room and eating cup ramen all the time and just staring at your computer, a lot of them report having a lot of acne, and that would just prevent them from going out even more. They felt awkward around people. They felt like everyone was staring at them weirdly. They just felt like they didn't fit in, and the longer it went on, the harder it was to reintegrate back into society. And so most of them just thought, I'm just going to stay with my computer. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. And Yoo-jung was kind of like that in the sense that she was obsessed with her computer, with her electronics, and she was primarily obsessed with consuming true crime documentaries. Now, I know that most of you guys that are listening to this episode because you have an interest in current events and or true crime itself. Now, I can't speak for you guys, but that's how I started. I would watch a true crime documentary and I had nobody to talk about it with, and I just wanted to talk to someone about what I had seen, what it made me feel, how it made me think about the world, how it made me think about the justice system, and I wanted to share these like thoughts and stories with someone. But I think like if I really look back on why I started watching these documentaries years and years ago, it kind of made me feel like I knew what was out there. Because like it makes me feel like I know what kind of evil is lurking in the shadows. I know what kind of people, scary people are out there. So maybe I can prepare myself and understand some of the warning signs. So it made me feel like I was being proactive in my safety. It felt like it was safer to know than not knowing what kind of evil existed. And it eased a little bit of my anxiety. Like that's kind of how I felt. And I read a lot of comments in here that say very similar things. That is not what Yoo Jung got out of it. She fixated on the killers of each documentary and she asked herself, I wonder how they feel. I wonder how it felt for them to kill. And unlike most of us, she did not have a healthy human level of curiosity where we have other interests in life. Yoo Jung did not care to even watch documentaries about cases of injustice or about all these cases that have gone unsolved that need people's attention or to help bring justice to all these victims' families. She literally watched these documentaries for inspiration.
How do we know this though?
So they found a bunch of true crime in her phone records, like shows, like digital footprint, and that is what a lot of psychiatrists believe. And she said that she wanted to feel what it felt like to kill. That's another thing. There is a conspiracy that she actually didn't kill because she was obsessed with true crime. Yeah. So I think this is where the whole video games argument kind of comes in. I don't think that there's a single thing in this world, especially a piece of media like a documentary, video game, or a movie, nothing could make me kill someone. And I'm sure that the same goes for all of you. Psychiatrists have actually come out and said, we don't know for sure if this is her motive. So as of right now, she's being labeled as someone who is so obsessed with true crime that she killed someone just to feel how it feels to kill. A couple of psychiatrists said, we don't know that for sure. We think that a lot of us are connecting these dots because as a society, we feel better knowing, like kind of what I just said about true crime documentaries, we feel better knowing that there's almost a reason. When we don't know, it makes it scarier. So we're going to get into all of that. But anyways, she escaped her reality to exist and relish in the reality of being a murderer. She would eventually become so engrossed, allegedly, so obsessed that she had made up her mind and she was going to kill to see how it felt. So we know how the crime went down. She was arrested and she tried to lie and said the remains belonged to her baby that she had to kill. And when that lie was exposed, the police found out who the victim was. She changed her story once more. She stated, I did not kill this girl. I was just hired to dispose of her body. I am not the one who killed the victim. Someone else did it and I'm just helping because they promised me something in exchange. What would they promise you? I was promised Hannah's identity. She's saying, what? I just wanted to commit identity theft and identity fraud, not murder. Many psychiatrists would later speculate, while this is a blatant lie, she is the killer, but it does give insight into her own thoughts and desires. She wanted Hannah's life. Yeah. She was jealous of Hannah's life. She wanted her identity. And side note, police found a digital footprint of her watching the South Korean movie Helpless multiple times prior to the murder. And this is allegedly one of her favorite movies. It's a Korean thriller. The movie is about a couple who are traveling to meet the husband's parents in the countryside of Korea. They end up stopping at this rest stop and getting coffee. And when the husband returns to the car, his wife is gone. She's not picking up her phone. She just vanished. He's like searching through the rest stop. He finds a little hairpin in the bathroom. She's not in the bathroom. He drives all the way back into the city, goes to her apartment. The apartment looks like it's been completely ransacked. So he's like, what the hell is going on? He gets his cousin involved, who was a former police officer. And they find out that the wife has been stealing other women's identities and is probably a killer. It's like a dark and windy thriller, but the fact that that's her favorite movie, I don't know. Some people say, see, like she really wanted someone else's life and maybe she's trying to recreate the movie. Others said, what if she's setting up some twisted alibi?
What do you mean?
Like some psychiatrists believe we can't trust a single thing that comes out of her mouth. So we don't know the motive. We don't even know if she wanted to take Hannah's life because she was jealous of Hannah. They said that this could be a well-spun fabrication, that she was watching this movie to find out her lie. I'm going to lie and say I was trying to steal her identity. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so she's just constantly lying.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, we don't know at all. Anyway, the police know that this is a lie, though, that she did not kill Hannah. She definitely killed Hannah. So they keep pushing, and Yoo-jung quickly changes her story once more, and she stated that she killed Hannah because she got into a fight with Hannah. And the police are fed up. They don't believe this, because why would you get into a fight with someone you don't know, and why would you trick them into being your English tutor if you don't even know them? Like, it doesn't make sense. So they did not believe this lie either. And while she's being stalled by investigators, the cops were able to look up her family registry in the system and call Grandpa Jung, the man who raised her. He rushes to the police station and his whole universe shattered that day. This was his only family. He raised her like his own daughter, and he felt like a complete and utter failure. How could he have failed Korea so badly by raising a killer? Grandfather Jung rushed to the station, and the police asked him to talk to his granddaughter to get the truth. He cried as he begged his granddaughter to confess to her crimes. He pleaded with her, just admit your sins. For me. Do it for me and my integrity. And she had given her grandfather nothing except a lifetime of pain. And Grandpa Jung had given her absolutely everything. This was the least that he could ask of his granddaughter. And Yoo-jung confessed her crimes. I don't know if she did it for love for her grandfather. I don't know if she felt like, this is it. I mean, I'm gonna have to fess up. I don't know what it was. Grandpa Jung would later be interviewed as he was hounded by the South Korean media, and he reported, I feel really sorry for the bereaved family because I am a sinner who raised my granddaughter wrong. I never expected this situation. I never even imagined this.
오늘 젊은 편제로 그것한테 제가 빽빽 사죄하고 싶고 내 심정이 내가 상상도 안 했던 일이.
When Grandpa Jung's neighbors were also interviewed after the fact, one of them reported, I mean, the girl was calm, quiet, and kind of, but the grandpa was a really nice person.
얌전하다 착하다 그렇게만 지금까지 보고 왔지. 할아버지는 사람이 굉장히 괜찮은 분이고.
So it's safe to assume that Yoo-jung was just a bad apple. Grandpa Jung was potentially just another one of her victims. When Yoo-jung confessed to the police, she cited her motivation as, I just wanted to experience murder. I just wanted to know what it feels like. She said that she had been planning this murder since February, so a full 3 to 4 months. And with a confession and a crime scene full of illuminating evidence, the authorities prepared for her prosecution. She was officially charged with murder, damaging of a body, dismemberment, and a third charge of body abandonment, scattering of the remains. On June 2nd, around 9 a.m., before appearing before the prosecution, she said 2 short sentences as the media questioned her for her crimes. She said, and I quote, I was out of my mind. Like I didn't have my right mind. I'm sorry for the victim's family.
혹시 피해자를 왜 살해하셨습니까?
피해 여성을 범행 대상으로 특정한 이유가 뭔가요?
피해자와 유가족들에게 정말 죄송합니다.
살인 충동을 혹시 언제부터 느끼신 걸까요?
피해자는 유가족께 할 말 없습니까?
피해자와 유가족분들에게 정말 진심으로 죄송합니다.
살해 후에 여러 차례 집을 오가셨는데 혹시 이유가 있었을까요?
실종 사건으로 위장하려고 했습니까?
제정신이 아니었던 것 같습니다. 죄송합니다.
혹시 범행 전에도 좀 이런 식으로 범행 대상을 물색하신 적 있었을까요?
범행 수법은 어디에서 배웠습니까?
오랫동안 구직 활동을 하셨다고 했는데 그 앱도 오랫동안 이용하신 건가요?
지금 신상 공개가 됐는데 여기에 대해서 어떻게 생각하십니까?
할 말이 없습니다. 죄송합니다. 검찰 조사에서 성실히 조사에 임하겠습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
She also ended her press interview with, thank you, which professionals believe that she copied from past criminals' interviews, behaviors, and attitudes. Yeah, so
Why?
a lot of
Like,
killers.
She acted weird?
Yeah, like a lot of killers in documentaries, they'll give press conferences and end it with a thank you in Korea. And I guess the way she said it didn't feel natural kind of felt like mocking behavior. Not mocking, but copied behavior.
조사에 임하겠습니다. 네, 이상입니다.
So many netizens who followed this case as it blew up have criticized her words here, believing that her apology is this pathetic attempt at appealing for a lower sentence. They said that she was using her childlike innocence or her youthful facial features to try and get away with murder. However, due to this case blowing up, there's a chance that the high-profile nature is going to pressure authorities to sentence her with a much stricter sentence. Yet the length of a sentence doesn't seem to mean much to Yoo-jung. According to police, she's doing great in jail. She's calm and not the least bit scared or anxious. She's eating well, sleeping well, and not feeling much remorse, or at least none that people can see. Side note, netizens were so enraged about this comment that many of them dug into the Busan prison menu, and they found out that the prisoners were eating better food than given to the military during their services.
Oh my god.
The menu is high in quality, lots of healthy options, fresh veggies, and even has dessert options. Netizens were wondering how the food is better than the food that they eat at home, and there were questions of, should our tax money really be used in this way? After her appearance in front of the media on June 2nd, her results from a test that measures psychopathy was released 4 days later on the 6th. The psychopath test was created by a Canadian psychologist, Dr. Robert D. Hare, in the 70s. It's called the Hare Psychopathy Checklist, and it asks 20 questions that are supposed to hone in on your true nature. Professionals allegedly use it to assess cases of psychopathy, and it has even been described as the single best predictor of violent behavior currently available. The psychopathy measurement test functions on a scale out of 40. So the lower the score, the least likely you are to have traits of a psychopath. So psychopaths, they typically score on average of 25. That indicates a very likely tendency to be a psychopath. I think normal people fall around like the 5 or 6 range. But some of the prompts or questions, I guess, include, and you answer them yourself. So you would answer like, oh, I strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, and then I'm neutral, does not apply, like all these things. And they would say things like, I generally evade responsibility and do not answer to anyone in my life.
Yeah. So that's like really easily you can pick whatever you want.
Yeah.
So is it in her best interest to fake that she is?
I mean, probably not, because psychopathy is not related to being in a state of psychosis. You are not, like, you're still in the right headspace. You just lack empathy and all these other things, but...
Okay.
And they would say things like, I have a grandiose sense of self-worth. I have a history of exhibiting cruelty to others. And the patient rates themselves. On her first evaluation, Yoo-jung scored 15 points out of 40. And even though 15 is higher than the normal range, which is about 5 to 6 for a normal person, it's still below 25 points, which is the threshold for psychopathy. However, on June 7th, she went through a second evaluation and she reportedly received a score of 28 points. Some notable comparable scores include Ted Bundy, who got 39 out of 40, and John Wayne Gacy, the clown killer, got 27 out of 40. So she scored 1 point higher than John Wayne Gacy. She ranked 1 point higher than Kang Woo-soon as well, which is a notorious serial killer in Korea. He kidnapped and murdered 8 women. He scored 27 points. She scored 28. I will say, though, the test has been criticized by some researchers and experts, but regardless of what you think a score indicates or doesn't indicate, it's clear that Chung Yoo-jung was at least not a normal person, and at most a budding serial killer. Police found evidence that she had been contacting multiple tutors. According to a professor, Oh Yun-sung, a specialist in criminal psychology, they said if she hadn't been caught on her first kill, there's almost 100% chance that she would have killed again.
I can see that, but the fact that the way she did it for the first time, it's so stupid.
Yeah, so I think that's where a lot of people say the grandiose sense of self comes into play. A lot of these psychopaths sometimes overestimate their intelligence and ability to accomplish things. Is the speculation? Because she did seem pretty confident in that CCTV video. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Now, another criminal psychology professor chimed in to state that they believed Chung Yoo-jung is a pathological liar. The professor even goes as far to speculate that everything Chung Yoo-jung has stated so far, her obsession with true crime, her wanting to feel like what it's like to kill someone, all of that is a lie. All except for the fact that she killed Hannah. That is the only thing that they think we should take as fact. Nothing else should be considered. The professor claims we might not even know how meticulously she's been planning or how far in advance or even what her final goal was. Another criminal psychologist states it's way too early to determine why she even killed. They said that we as a society are quick to believe her reasonings, not because we are gullible, but because otherwise the message would be that no one is safe from such a random type of murder and monster. And that is more terrifying. Now, side note, on June 8th, the Busan police gave an award to the taxi driver who reported the crime to the police. However, the taxi driver refused to take the prize and he actually quit his job. According to colleagues, media has been looking for this taxi driver, like hounding this man down. People around him said that he's terrified. Has so much trauma from this encounter. He had driven this young woman with dismembered body parts in the trunk of his taxi at 3 a.m. The taxi driver is doing everything that he can to remain out of the public eye. He has not given any public interviews. And some theorize, because South Korea is notorious for letting people out, he does not want his name out there because he was that terrified of Chung Yoo-jung that if she is released, he believes that she will track him down and kill him. Wow. Is the speculation. Now, as for the tutoring app that Hannah had been utilizing to find clientele, a lot of tutors have deleted their profiles because of how easily accessible the tutor's personal information is. The original purpose of this app is to assure that the parents have tutors that are actually credible, that are going to the schools that they say they are, that are getting the grades that they say they are. The tutoring app, though, they don't background check or verify anything about the parents, just the tutors. And they responded to these concerns and said, yes, okay, yeah, we get it, but because we cannot verify parents of the students in the app, it's, what can we do? So they've done little to solve this problem and protect the tutors. And this type of crime is not unheard of in Korea. In 2022 December, one man faked his identity as a high school student and lured a female university student/tutor to his house in an attempt to essay her. Reportedly in 2021, one man also faked his identity, kidnapped a university student that was a tutor using a similar app, keeping her hostage for up to a month and subjecting her to many essays. So this is the case as of right now. I am sure that there will be more developments, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on this case? I do think, and I'm obviously biased because I'm someone who is deep in this true crime world, but I think it's like the argument of video games. I don't think that there is any piece of media that can get someone to kill.
Yeah.
And I think the way she went about it and just her callous nature in that CCTV footage, it's just very unsettling to know that she had just killed and dismembered someone. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the main episode. Please be safe. Bye. It's a big debate. The good old infidelity clause in a prenuptial agreement. Is it viable? Is it not viable? It depends on the state. You think that you can just write in there, before I get married, hey, husband, hey, future wife, if you think you're gonna cheat on me, guess again, you're not, because you're gonna give me everything if you do. Some judges in certain states will say, yeah, that doesn't work here. You're still gonna get half of everything, even though your pants were in somebody else's closet. It doesn't matter. But there are a lot of other weird clauses that are getting popular. The Weight Watchers clause. One partner or both partners,
That's
usually
crazy.
The wife, will be forced to stick to certain lifestyle habits and fitness goals. Basically, they write into the prenup that for every 10 pounds that a woman gains, she owes her partner a financial fine.
Wait, this is real?
Yeah, or she forfeits some of the private property that both of them share.
Wait, how is that real? This is real?
It's most likely not going to be held up in court, but people have been writing it into their prenups, and it's not like a tiny weight on the scale either, the financial fine. One couple wrote that if the wife ever weighs over 120 pounds, she forfeits $100,000 worth of property. Allegedly, reportedly, Jessica Simpson and some guy named Tony Romo, I think he was like some bald dude quarterback or something, okay? Dallas Cowboys. Don't be offended. I can't throw a ball for the life of me, okay? But allegedly, when he and Jessica Simpson were dating, they were going to have a prenup clause that required her to pay him $500,000 for every pound that she gained over 135 pounds. Thankfully, they never got married. I don't even know if this is true. He is now married to, Nate from Gossip Girl?
No.
Nate Archibald from Gossip Girl, his sister is married to Tony Romo now. But I don't know what's going on in their prenup if they have one. Or there is a Netflix narc clause. For every hour of TV that a partner watches over the weekly allotted stipulated amount, they will pay their partner a fine. How much TV do you have to be watching for someone to write that into their premarital agreement? The only one that I could maybe see a use for is the clause that dictates the number of overnight stays for each in-law parent every single year. This could maybe be useful if you have overbearing, always in your space, opinionated, wants to date their own child in-laws that never leave you alone and never stop criticizing you. But that might be the only clause that's not completely unhinged. But also, I feel like you could have probably handled that before you get married. There's also suddenly, we're in the red light district clause. If intimate relations are not had at least X amount of times a week, a fine is paid. One couple allegedly even came up with a list of pre-approved positions that count as intimate relations. Some positions don't count, I guess. I don't even know how this is trackable. How would one person prove to the other party that they did not adhere to the terms? I will say it sounds awful, and it probably is, but again, it's entirely unenforceable in the court of law. I highly doubt that a judge is going to sit there and enforce any of these clauses, which if one clause of an entire agreement in a prenup or a postnup is deemed frivolous by a judge, it could actually render the entire agreement void and unenforceable. And that is why a lot of attorneys say, hey, don't be dumb.
So the cheating clause is also not always enforceable?
No, there's lots of states who don't enforce it. California is notoriously one of them. Yeah. So some states just don't like it. I guess it also could depend on the judge, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Prenups are done before two people get legally married. Postnups, a lot of judges these days hate postnups. Postnups are drafted and signed after two people are legally married. And obviously with postnups, it's difficult because the courts just hate it. It's more expensive, first of all, to get attorneys to draft up postnups because they have to go through all the entangled assets that you guys already collectively have. And then from there, judges don't like it because typically you're taking away the rights that people receive upon getting married. So prenups, you're modifying rights before those rights are given to you. Before you get those rights, because the minute you get married, you have certain rights. So you're modifying, hey, you're not going to get this right before we get married. So you never had that right to begin with.
Right.
But then with a postnup, judges are saying, well, now you're taking away rights, and now we have to factor in, was it signed under duress? Like, there could be a whole buttload of reasons why someone might have signed a postnup versus a prenup. People think prenups are done with much more clear-headed minds in space. I don't know if that's true, but a lot of attorneys will argue, I mean, yeah, definitely if you don't have a prenup, get a postnup. Those are always encouraged. But if you have to pick between the two, if you're thinking about getting a prenup or a postnup, get a prenup. It's so much easier, more affordable legally, and more likely to stand up in court. And this specific couple, a young couple in Hawaii, did a very odd postnup that I really don't know how it would hold up in court. It most likely is not going to stand, even though it has been heavily criticized, not in family court though, in criminal court. The postnup between a Hawaiian couple states that in the event of a divorce, the father will get all the assets, the house, the money, the cars, full custody of their daughter, and the mother gets nothing. She gets zero. She doesn't walk out with a dime, and the mother is no longer ever allowed to visit psychics. That's written into the postnup. If she visits a psychic, a divorce will be had.
That is crazy. That's likely not enforceable though,
No.
right? Okay.
Oh, and she can never see or speak to her fertility specialist ever again. Why would that be in a postnup agreement? Especially when this woman's fertility specialist is a man named John Takuhara, a local acupuncturist who recently helped multiple couples conceive. What does John have anything to do with anything? And what does it mean when just 2 weeks after this document is signed by this Hawaiian couple, the fertility specialist, John Takuhara, is found killed? This is the case of John Takuhara. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Hawaiian Council, one of the leading nonprofits whose mission is to enhance the cultural, economic, and community development of Native Hawaiians. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team. We'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's case involves mentions of infertility treatment, and as well as extramarital affairs. during very vulnerable, sensitive times. Please take care and watch with discretion. And with that being said, another note, statements and quotes may be condensed for brevity. So with that being said, let's get into it. January 13th, 2022 is not the best time to be in certain parts of Hawaii. There is something called a lava lake. It's very rare. There's only like 10 documented cases of persistent lava lakes in the entire world. These are different from pools of lava or even lava ponds. Essentially, it's a crater. It's a dip in a volcano. It could be on the side, it could be at the top, and it's created this almost in-ground pool structure to be filled with lava. And every day it just burns lava. And it's connected to a continuous supply of lava, and it's never gonna stop burning. It's like a death swimming pool, and it's always moving because there's lava being pumped into the lake, if you will, and the top layer looks like it's cooled down. So there's almost like this crusty looking substance covering the red. It looks like if you were to get a Chicago deep dish pizza, put it on a high broil setting, you've got that crispy layer on top, but the minute that you plunge your finger in, you're gonna get burned because that mozzarella sauce has not cooled down and it's very wet inside. And the depth is visual. When you see videos of the lava lakes at night, it looks like the center of hell. It's so bright. It just has a red, angry glow. You can't even stand near the lava lake's edge without specialized heat-resistant gear because your skin is going to melt off. It's gonna just be sludge. The lava itself is going to be from 1400 to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. I can't even give you a comparison, but I don't know a single person who doesn't complain when it's like 88 degrees outside. It's deadly, and it's even more dangerous because even if you were to kill someone before they fall into a lava lake, like a movie, falling through the volcano fog, the smoke, is going to eviscerate airways before they even make contact with the lava lake. January 13th, 2022, the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory gets word that all the monitoring equipment that they set up to monitor one of the lava lakes on the island is about to get covered in lava. So they have to do the quickest rescue mission for their devices. Thankfully, they pull it together and nobody is harmed.
Why are the devices going to be covered though?
The lava's overflowing.
Oh, I see.
But that doesn't even make the biggest news. The biggest news on the island that day, January 13th, 2022, is something happened to the healer. The healer makes it sound overtly spiritual, but if you have tension, if you have chronic pain, which a lot of people have, you have to go to the healer. And they just call him the healer. He doesn't call himself the healer. He's not like a cult leader. They call him the healer because he's just that good. They're talking about John Takuhara, the best acupuncturist in the entire island, the whole area. One person writes in a review, John Takuhara works miracles. I've been seeing him for close to a year for traditional Japanese acupuncture. I had constant pain in my back, and with his treatment, I can kind of function again. My quality of life has gotten so much better. I'm a person who hates needles, by the way, but I hate taking medications more. So coming from a person that hates needles and pain, you can do it. You barely notice the needles going in. John is that good. You will feel so much better after just one treatment that is going to keep you coming back. Whatever you've got going on, pain, fatigue, stress, depression, headaches, sleeplessness, etc., there is relief. Moreover, there is also designated parking spots for the building, so parking will never be an issue. Community members say he really was the healer. He was healing people and people who had pain, discomfort. He's the type of acupuncturist, if you show up at his door in pain, you have no money, he's going to take you in, he's going to take good care of you, and he's not going to ask for payment.
Wow.
That morning of January 13th, 2022, 8 a.m., an older woman with silver hair gets out of the driver's seat of her car. She's parked directly in front of John Takuhara's acupuncture clinic. And she's not here for acupuncture, although she looks like she probably could be. She wasn't able to sleep much last night, and she's walking a little bit slow. She's a little bit elderly. And something just very weird happened last night. Her son was supposed to show up for dinner. She made a hot plate for him, and it's just been sitting there. He never came home for dinner. I mean, he doesn't live with her, but he visits her for dinner, and he's always on time. He doesn't show up. He's not responding to any of her messages. She thought maybe he forgot. Maybe he decided to eat dinner with his girlfriend instead, but he's not the type to not tell his mom about that. She gets out of her parked car, opens the door to the acupuncture clinic, and laying in a pool of blood next to the front desk is John Takuhara, the healer, and he's been murdered.
I went into the office and I saw him on the floor, and I saw the paperwork all over the room.
Someone walked into the clinic, the acupuncture clinic, and shot him 4 times in the head. But who the hell would want a healer dead? There's a few different ways acupuncture can be explained. The first, more traditional way is the idea that energy flows through the body. So there's qi. The energy is called qi, and there's 14 different energy channels inside of our bodies. When one of those energy channels becomes blocked or imbalanced, of course you're going to feel pain, which could explain why certain illnesses, like you feel like you try all this modern medicine and you can't fix the pain. It's because you're not fixing the root of the problem, which is your qi is blocked. Acupuncture aims to help unblock and rebalance the energy by stimulating specific points along certain energy channels. Then there's the more biomedical perspective. But here's the very interesting thing. Both things lead to the same place. So someone can say, oh, the chi is blocked here, so I'm going to put a needle here. And then the biomedical perspective, which is simply when you insert needles, it can activate local receptors and nerve fibers, which could do one of few things. It could do nothing, or it could release endorphins, which are natural painkillers that your body produces. It could also help modulate cortisol, the natural stress hormone, or it could be like, okay, to put it for like the skincare girls, micro-needling on the face. Why are people stabbing their face with needles? Because when you create these micro, super tiny traumatic environments, it signals to the body to recruit immune cells.
To heal it.
Yes, to heal it, to release biomolecules that promote tissue repair, which just doesn't just repair the tiny micro-traumatic incisions, but also whatever was bringing you pain in the first place. I mean, this practice has been around for at least 3,000 something years. The needles are not painful. I mean, once they're inserted, you usually have to keep them in for 30 minutes. They're about the width of a tiny hair. And people say you can't even feel it going in. And if you do, it's kind of like a warm sensation.
You tried it, right? Yeah, years ago.
Yeah. My mom goes to an acupuncturist. She loves it. I'm not the biggest fan because I get really anxious, but people love it. And I will say, because it's rooted in Eastern tradition, there's definitely a lot of skepticism and opinions about it in the West. Opinions range from the efficacy to the probability. I mean, people will say things like, it was okay, it got rid of my headache for the day. It's kind of comparable to like a deep tissue massage. Other people will say, it cured my chronic pain and that could not be fixed by anything. I got surgery and it didn't do anything, but acupuncture saved my life. So it's like a vast range. I think the main reason people don't believe in acupuncture is because they hold it to a really high standard. Just like how most medications and probably even surgeries will not cure people of chronic pain or ailments, acupuncture should be held with the same regard. But I will argue for acupuncture in the sense of, out of all the things that someone could recommend to another person to help remedy chronic pain, acupuncture probably has the least side effects versus opioids, versus painkillers. You know what I mean? It seems like if you had to recommend something that has like the least probability of harming someone to just test out, acupuncture could be one of those, provided that you go to a good practitioner. A lot of people agree it's not the worst thing to try out if you've already tried out a lot of things. But it's very interesting. A lot of acupuncturists actually say they're always the last resort. They say patients will come in every day and the acupuncture clinic is the last stop before the surgeon, before they're like, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm getting surgery. Or it's the first stop right after surgery because they're like, hey, so that surgery didn't do shit. They're usually at a dead road. They've tried 12 other things before this. They don't believe in acupuncture, but here they are. They're like, I've tried everything. Sometimes it changes their lives. Sometimes it doesn't. And it does seem like there's a growing trend for acupuncture being used as fertility treatment. I'm not a medical professional, but recently I've been listening when I was going in my deep dive, and I don't want to name the people because I think all of them have been in scandals, but a lot of, everyone's in the files, a lot of doctors, big name doctors who had podcasts. Oh, I'm not talking about that doctor. I'm talking about like Andrew Huberman. He was not in the files, but I don't know. There was something with him, I think. Whatever. He was also even talking about how there have been recent studies that do show a strong link between acupuncture and fertility.
There are now a lot of data supporting the idea that acupuncture, of all things, can be very beneficial for improving both female and male fertility, and should a woman get pregnant, for improving the quality of outcomes. That is, the likelihood that there will be a successful pregnancy that is carried to term, not premature, and so on and so forth.
So a lot of Western doctors are like, okay, we were wrong. Like, this is not some voodoo Chinese shit we thought it was. Like, maybe it actually works. There have been recent studies funded by the National Institute of Health that show links between acupuncture and hormone health. So they say that acupuncture helps with blood flow, which in turn helps with the health of the ovaries. Additionally, on the male side, apparently there are a lot of clinical studies that have shown that acupuncture can help with sperm quality and quantity. But they don't stick it where you think they'll stick it, so you don't have to freak out. You can just go, you'll have a good time. One acupuncturist website reads, ultra-thin acupuncture needles will be applied to specific points in the body, usually like near the pelvic area, but not there. And it reduces stress, balances hormones, improves blood flow. And you're not supposed to do this before IVF. So they're not saying this is IVF replacement. They're saying actually the best time to do acupuncture for fertility is 3 months before your IVF round. Because it helps blood flow, helps the health of your eggs, the quantity of the sperm. So like 3 months before you're trying to conceive or before IVF, and it really helps increase your probability is the belief out there. And it's interesting because acupuncture, they alternate on the different weeks of the menstrual cycle. So they're very in tune with the hormones. It's not just like, hey, woman, sit down. It's like, oh, when was your last period? Okay, now let's fine tune with what we think the body needs depending on the cycle phase. John Takuhara was an acupuncturist that had success in fertility treatments. It has been reported that many of his clients came to see him with fertility concerns, and they were able to conceive after seeing him. So why would someone want to kill someone like John Takuhara, who is out here helping people create families? When the authorities get to the acupuncture clinic, the first thing they do is comb through the office and later all the security cameras outside. There's no cameras inside the office, but there's some street level cameras from the nearby businesses. And they just keep looking and there's nothing crazy going on. It's a normal day. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of people walking around, except this one person stands out to them. It's like a weird person. They keep seeing him walking in circles around the block, and it's not like they're standing and pacing in front of the clinic, but their movements just seem unnatural. So a few things stand out. The weather in Hawaii, January, really warm. High of 79.
Damn.
This person is wearing an all black outfit, long black pants, long black jacket, carrying one of those brown paper shopping bags from a grocery store, and a big white bucket hat that covers their entire face. You can't see the person's face. You can't even tell if this person is a man or a woman. You can just tell they're weird. They first appear on cameras a few blocks away from John's clinic. They're walking with determination for a good chunk of the way. Where they're going, we don't know yet, but it seems like they know. But the moment that they're in front of John's office, there's this weird moment where they like turn around and then walk a few paces away from the office and then turn back around and walk towards the office once more.
Like they can't decide where to go?
Yeah.
Or what to do?
But they were walking with determination all the other times, and then suddenly they're like, maybe I should turn around. Maybe I shouldn't turn around.
Yeah. Is his face showing at all in the camera?
No face. They're presumably inside the clinic for 48 seconds. That's what the police have put out, where it is believed that John is killed and ambushed. There's no signs of a fight, and it seems like whoever this was took John completely by surprise. I don't know what they would have done if John was with a patient, but they just walk out of the clinic 48 seconds later and then walk away. There are two interesting moments that are captured when they walk off. First, there's this seemingly anxious moment. So the whole way that they're going towards the clinic, they're determined, they're fast, brisk walk, and then all of a sudden they U-turn and then U-turn it back, and then they enter the clinic. 48 seconds later, they walk back out, same walk, they seem casual. And then they have this anxious moment where they open up the brown grocery bag and then look, it's like when you walk through the airport and you randomly have a moment of panic and you zip open your bag and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, my passport is exactly where I saw it 2 seconds ago. But then you do it again and again and again. It's kind of like that. It doesn't look like, oh, let me just casually open this bag and see if I bought my sour candy.
He's like, open it. Oh my God, is still here.
Yes, it looks like that. And more importantly, there is this moment when this individual in question is walking across the street and the wind hits. It's like the gentlest blow of wind. And the white bucket hat flies off the person's head and lands directly in the middle of the street. And they don't stop. They don't stop. They don't pick it up. They don't U-turn later. They just keep walking.
That's crazy.
Their hat is on the ground getting run over by cars. It's almost like they don't feel the hat flying off of them. But how do you not feel your bucket hat blowing off in the wind?
So is his face out there then?
Well, how do we know it's him? Because underneath, there's long hair. But that long hair, police believe, might be a wig.
Like your hair long?
A little bit shorter. Mine's a little long, but a little shorter.
And what color?
Blondish, but it's very clear it's like a wig. It looks like it's like long but tied, kind of tied up.
Okay.
So is it a woman wearing a wig? Is it a man wearing a wig? But that wig might be the reason that they don't feel the hat blowing off.
I see.
But that hat is the key to a lot of questions. It could have this individual's DNA. It could be a very specific brand that only 89 people on the island have ordered this hat online. Everything else at the crime scene doesn't have a clear lead. This is the closest that authorities are going to get to whoever shot John in the head 4 times. 10 days after John's murder, they tracked down the white bucket hat. And it is now sitting at the very edge of a Man Without a Home's camp.
That's crazy.
Just like squeezed on in the side next to his tent. He said, yeah, picked it up on the street. I wore it once, and then I never touched it again. This hat is going to be a very, very big problem in the murder trial for who murdered John Takuhara. Eric and Joyce Thompson are high school sweethearts turned millionaires. Pretty much their entire lives, they've been with each other, and now they have a daughter together. Eric and Joyce have a daughter. And a very strange post-nup. Like, you don't just wake up from slumber one morning and decide that life cannot go on without the signing of a legal document that forbids one of your party members from seeing psychics. What the hell is happening inside the Thompson home? Eric could tell that something was off with Joyce. It's not as subtle as other couples, so some people say that the signs are barely there. And when they come up, it's so small that you try to explain it away and laugh it off. Like when you're driving in the car and your partner turns to you and they're like, oh, should we go there for dinner next week? You're like, where? That restaurant that we just drove by, don't you love it? I've literally never been there my entire life. Sure you have. You said you liked it. I never said that. Okay, it's weird, you've been together for so long, but the only explanation is like maybe he genuinely got confused from like a different restaurant, even though none of the other restaurants sound the same or have similar locations or even types of cuisines, but like maybe they're stressed out from work. Or suddenly their phone is always on silent when that's not their normal pattern, and they always turn it down, face down on the table no matter where they are. Or they've disconnected it from all the cars. Suddenly, their AirPlay is not connected. Their Bluetooth to the car is not connected, which is really odd. But like maybe their phone reset it and they just haven't had time to reconnect it.
These are so specific. It's crazy.
Someone said it was actually the strange dropping of the word we. Like when we would go and hang out with family and friends, it was always like, oh, we haven't thought about that. Like we should try that. We should go there one day. But like suddenly that we is gone. Oh, I should try that. I haven't thought about that.
That's crazy. Are these like real things that people picked up on?
Yes.
On their cheating partner?
Yeah. All the small subtle signs. But, you know, these are very small things that you don't pick up on until they pile up. For Eric, the details were more in his face. He was on a work trip and his wife, Joyce, is constantly going to family dinners that he's a part of because he's her husband, so like he's family, right? He's like the father of their child, so he's family, right? But then she would explain to him, oh, it's just me and my siblings and my side of the family, not you. All of a sudden, you want to have separated family. It doesn't make sense. But then during a work trip, Eric gets a notification on their security cameras in their multi-million-dollar on-the-water mansion in Hawaii that there's movement. Joyce is caught on the cameras leaving the house alone. That means their young daughter is inside the house alone, and Joyce is leaving the house alone, and she's gone for like 40 minutes, but where would she need to go that is so important that she leaves their young daughter?
How old?
A year old.
A year old?
Yeah. She's gone from the house for about 40 minutes.
What time is she leaving?
This is like in the morning, so presumably the baby is asleep. And he says, I was just kind of scratching my head, like, where are you going and where's our daughter? When he gets back from his work trip, Eric confronts Joyce and they spend the entire night fighting, and the next day she confesses that she's having an affair.
I was shocked, and then I said, like, oh, was this with, you know, your the people you're having dinner with? And she said, no, it was with John Tokuhara. And then I was like, who? And then she's like, you know, Dr. John. And I was like, oh, the massage guy. And it's just like, just didn't make any sense. Like,
John Takuhara is the man that Joyce went to try and help her and Eric conceive a child when she was struggling with fertility. Then after giving birth to their daughter, she started having postpartum, or at least that's what I think. Eric describes it as like she's always wanted to be a mom, but then she was feeling not like she wanted to be a mom, which sounds exactly like postpartum. And she went back to seeing him, and clearly an affair started. How did Eric feel about that? He says,
just didn't make any sense. Like not only like why, but it's like how logistically could this happen? Like I had no, like prior to that week, there's like zero suspicion. Like I would have never expected.
So John calls him the massage guy, right?
Eric calls John.
Oh, Eric calls John. Does John do massage or only?
Just acupuncture. Oh, also, I think it was probably a tough spot because I wonder if maybe perhaps Eric felt like he's in a more financially stable point in his life than John Takuhara. And John Takuhara is 10 years older than both of them because him and Joyce met in high school.
Wait, who? John is 10 years older than Eric?
Eric and Joyce. Eric and Joyce are the same age, yeah.
How old are they?
They're probably in their, like, when this is unfolding, late 20s, early 30s.
What? They're young.
They're young, and he's a millionaire.
What did they do?
He's the bathtub guy. So if you are not able-bodied, or for more elderly people in the island, he will specialize bathtubs that are easy to get in and out of so that they can take baths independently. Yeah, so he does these custom bathtub builds, and he does really well for himself. I mean, they live in like this $2 and some change $1 million house on the water.
Wow, okay.
I was sad at first, just because my suspicions were confirmed. I was pissed, why would this happen, or what did I do to deserve this, or it was just really confusing.
Eric says the next few months they're just dedicated to rebuilding this trust. The post-nump is obviously part of it. And according to Eric, Joyce is the one that suggested it to give Eric peace of mind. She's like, hey, if you feel stressed about it, like, we've been dating since high school, I'll sign a post-nump where you get everything if we divorce.
Joyce, I mean, she was really great. I mean, I couldn't have expected or asked for more of her. I could tell she was fully committed, to making the family work. The affair was in the rearview mirror, more or less. It was just more planning for our futures.
What did they plan exactly? Because 2 weeks after the signing of the post-nump, John is dead. The police go through John Takuhara's phone and they find thousands of messages. And if they follow each and every lead that's in it, it's going to lead them to at least 3 different men. John DeMarco. I'm just going to call him DeMarco to not get confused with the victim, John Takuhara. DeMarco is a man who looks like he gets sunburnt easily and owns way too many Hawaiian shirts. But DeMarco has a lot of reason to want John Takuhara dead. John is DeMarco's other John. He is the reason that DeMarco and his wife divorced. DeMarco's ex-wife had gone to see John the acupuncturist, which started this passionate affair that DeMarco eventually found out about. And he's honest with detectives. He says, I was super pissed. But also, I said kind of like, good riddance.
He could have her. I knew I'd never be able to trust her again because that was like a huge part for me as a person. I was just like, good riddance. I called him up and just said, we weren't yelling or anything. It was just like, I'm not like a fighting type.
DeMarco's ex-wife actually stays with John Takuhara a while after their divorce, and John becomes like a secondary father figure to their kids for a little bit. But that was like years ago. So DeMarco is like, there's no reason for me to want to kill John Takuhara. It's not like I was still with my ex-wife. Why would I want to kill him? At least that's what he says.
Is John still with the ex-wife then?
No.
Oh, they also broke up.
Yeah. The police keep digging, and that lands them at the door of a man named Daryl Fujita. Daryl is a man, you could safely assume that he's been scorned. Daryl's ex-girlfriend broke up with him for John Takuhara. We don't know if there was an affair, but she breaks up with him and starts dating John Takuhara. Then her and John break up, and she goes back to Daryl, and they start dating again. Okay? Then she breaks up with him and was the current girlfriend of John Takuhara when he passed. So Daryl has been left by his girlfriend twice. They also share a child together. And it is also believed that she went to John Takahara for fertility treatments as well and other acupuncture services. But he's been left by his girlfriend twice because of John Takahara. And one could maybe assume that she was having an affair. We don't know. And it's not like Daryl and his girlfriend were in this casual fling. They have a house, they have a child together. But he claims, Daryl is like, there is no bad blood. None. None. The police are like, can we search your phone? He's like, okay. So this is how I think the preceding conversation unfolded. Can we go through your phone? Absolutely. But I should let you know I just reset the entire phone. So there's really nothing on there. I reformatted it, I reset it, there's nothing.
That's crazy.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why not? He literally says later during the trial, he's like, I mean, why? It's not weird to reformat your phone unless you have something to hide.
Yeah.
And then he immediately hates his words because he said it's not weird unless you have something to hide. And then he's like, I mean, not that I had anything. And then he just is like bumbling. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I still remember when my pediatrician told me that I should start looking for an adult practitioner. What do you mean I can't go to my childhood doctor as a 20-something-year-old? I mean, ultimately, it does make sense health-wise, but it was a breakup that I feel like a lot of people are just not ready for. Where do you even go from there? How do you know you're going to be comfortable with a new doctor? What about insurance? What if you just move to a new city? If this plight seems familiar, whether you're looking for a new general physician, a dentist, just blood work, basically any kind of doctor's appointment, it's time to find doctors you love and book appointments with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 200-plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/rotten to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/rotten. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. Then there's Eric Thompson, the bathtub guy. Okay? This is how they figure out. Police find out that John has an Instagram account that only has one follower. And this one follower's name is Little Squeeze Me. And there are messages, DMs between the two of them. And when authorities track down the owner of that Instagram account, they find that it belongs to Joyce Thompson. Joyce Thompson is Eric Thompson's wife, and she's having an affair with John Takahara. The affair lasted 2 months, which seems like a short amount of time. Not that cheating is judged by the scale of duration, but they were connected very quickly. There's at least 5,600 messages between the two of them, John the acupuncturist and Joyce the wife, within the span of 1 month. That's just one of the 2 months that they were having an affair. There are messages from July where they seem to end things. Joyce tells John that her husband Eric found out and that she doesn't want to end things with Eric. She doesn't want to be with John. John was actually ready for a committed relationship. He was telling her, like, if you leave your husband, like, I want to be committed. But she said, I'm not going to leave my husband.
But he had a girlfriend too.
He did not. Well, we don't know if he was seeing her at the same time or like he saw her right after, because after they end the affair, there's like 9 months before he dies. Okay, not 9 months, 6 months. He passes away January.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So during that 6-month period, nothing is happening. And then at the end of the 6th month, she offered to do a post-nup. And then he died.
Yeah, they signed
it. So there's a cooling period of 6 months of nothing is happening.
But like, I don't know if she offered the post-nup towards January or towards July. I do know that probably the drafting of it would take a long time since they've been together since high school. I wonder if there's a lot of assets and they have a successful business. I don't know. I actually don't know how long that would take. But maybe not 6 months. Lawyers are pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so as she's breaking up with him, John is asking if he can still keep in contact through her siblings. And she's like, no contact. It's just too much. Interestingly enough, 1 month later in August, there's one last phone call, a FaceTime from Joyce the wife to John the acupuncturist, and he doesn't pick up. by all appearances, one could imagine that their affair is over. The relationship is done. And there's a ton of photos that were exchanged during that affair, intimate photos, lots of messages. They did say things like, I love you to each other. Yeah, and the whole thing is made trickier by the fact that Joyce and Eric, they first bring John into their lives when she's trying to get pregnant. Joyce had suffered a miscarriage. Her friend recommends her to go see John the acupuncturist, and she gets pregnant soon after. Successfully gives birth, and then she's struggling with postpartum, and then she goes to see John again, and that's when the affair starts. Some people think that perhaps it's easier for Eric, the husband, to forgive Joyce, knowing that she was dealing with postpartum. Like maybe in his mind, this is his high school sweetheart. She's never done anything like this before. And she had this experience where all of her brain chemicals and her hormones are off balance. And she's in this vulnerable space. And I'm not the one justifying it, but some netizens are saying maybe he could forgive her because of all of those reasons. And he also saw a fault in himself, perhaps, because the way that he initially described what was going on with Joyce after giving birth, it seemed like maybe he did not understand postpartum. He just seemed confused, like, you've always wanted to be a mom, so now you're a mom, why aren't you happy? Like, that was his confusion. Mm-hmm. So maybe, because would Eric really kill John Takahara 9 months after the affair is already over? Besides, that night that John was killed, Eric claims that he has an alibi. He was busy dumping construction material in his truck. And are we sure that these are the only leads? What about the backpack? Right next to John Takahara's body was a backpack, and inside of it is a bundle of cash, $4,000 in cash, wrapped in a piece of paper that has the word herbs written on there. What does that mean? And what about the psychic? Psychics have a long history of reading relationships and sometimes sending people off into fits of paranoia. They will tell you how your relationships will go based off of your reading. This psychic that Joyce apparently went to encouraged her to have an affair with John Takahara. Told her it's the right thing to do.
That's insane.
At least that's what Joyce claims. But I'm not sure if any of them predicted, though, that right around Eric and Joyce's wedding anniversary, Eric Thompson would be arrested for murdering John Takahara. The evidence against Eric Thompson is aggressively thin, and that's not to say that I don't personally think that he's guilty or that he did not do this, just that the evidence itself is thin. There are really only a few elements: the truck, the hat, the fire. Let's start with the truck. A white Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck is seen driving in circles around the business just minutes before John is killed. Authorities believe that this is a 2014 to 2016 pickup truck. They find 53 vehicles registered in that area with that same pickup truck manufactured in that time frame. They talked to 52 of the owners, and all of them have alibis, and only one of them is connected to anyone that has any connection with John Takahara, and that is Eric Thompson. Furthermore, an odd detail is Eric would always have this silver toolbox on the back of his truck. It's like a huge trunk. Do you know what I'm talking about? Some pickup trucks, like near where the passengers sit, but on the truck, there's this huge silver box.
Like the toolbox.
Yeah, it's like a toolbox that stays on there. And he always had it on there. And his neighbor's Ring cameras caught him pulling out the day before John Takahara is killed. That toolbox is gone. He took it off. Why did he take it off? He says it was to load construction equipment. But the authorities are like, we never saw you ever take it off.
Yeah.
Then that car is seen driving around. We don't have like the exact license plate matchup, so it's hard to confirm nail on the head that that's him, but that's what authorities believe. Then there's the figure in the white bucket hat. Why do people think that this random person walking around is a person of interest compared to everybody else? Well, they just look nervous. It seems like they walked in the direction of the acupuncture clinic and then they walked away after 48 seconds. It seems like this is the killer, right? This is the only way that makes sense. Nobody else entered the clinic. It's got to be the white bucket hat. But how do we know that this white bucket hat is Eric Thompson? There's a video of the white bucket hat walking and he swings his right arm a lot.
Okay.
Then there's a video of Eric walking and he swings his right arm a lot. It sounds super circumstantial, but the authorities will say it's something that you can't even try to fix. For example, in the CIA, it's reported that operatives, when they go undercover and they work in environments where they can't give away their gait, they will put a small piece of gravel in only one shoe to alter how they walk, because it's something that you can't even think about fixing so constantly. And since we're listing out all the strange things, it does get worse. After Eric gets home, for about 5 minutes, his backyard is all lit up. the neighbor's camera, it's like orange. He's burning something. Later, during the police search, they find a bucket and a wheelbarrow that shows something was burnt in there. Police argue that he's getting rid of the murder weapon, which they believe is a ghost gun, like a 3D printed gun, because they haven't been able to find this murder weapon.
Crazy.
He's cleaning up the crime scene. Eric argues he was lighting up tiki torches because he was out there with his daughter and there's a bunch of bugs, so he's lighting up tiki torches. Within a few hours, Eric leaves the house again, and this time his white pickup truck has a steel toolbox back on there like it always has. And he was like, oh yeah, I was going out for more work. But allegedly, one of the messages between Joyce and John the acupuncturist, Joyce is warning him that she cannot be with him. She cannot leave her husband. She cannot leave their daughter. And also, Eric might kill you.
Actually warning him that Eric's gonna kill him, or is it like, oh no, if he finds out, he's gonna kill you?
We don't know. Others are defending Eric. They say that video of the white bucket hat, we don't even know if that's a man or a woman. How can you say it's Eric Thompson? When the hat blows off, there's a wig, but that so-called wig is never found.
The wig is burned. That's very easy to burn, isn't it?
But wouldn't there be strong smells?
I mean, if they live in a big waterfront house, there's like so much space.
But others have resorted to victim blaming. Some say that an acupuncturist is actually kind of like a physician. A physician holds immense power. This is an online comment. The inherent trust placed in them by patients who are often vulnerable or in distress, this creates a profound imbalance of power where genuine consent becomes murky and the risk of exploitation is high. It's not just unprofessional, it's a cause for license revocation in most states. One attorney who analyzed the case writes, despite specializing in fertility treatments, a field that demands the highest level of professional boundaries, Mr. Tokahara engaged in sexual relationships with 3 different patients, a fact confirmed and uncontested in open court. It's hard to grasp how such clear violations were overlooked. An honest reckoning might have prevented a tragic ending. But also, I don't know if that's rights to kill anybody. But Eric and his family would say that Eric would not kill John. That is not in his nature. And let's say in some crazy world he did, this would not have been the time. They say Eric and Joyce were actually making amends after the affair. They were not fighting. They were actually using it to reflect, with Eric realizing that he was spending too much time working and not spending enough time with his young family that he desperately wanted so badly. But I don't know, that's what family is saying. They're saying 6 months after the affair ended, what motive would Eric have?
He has a good heart, because he's always compassionate, he's caring, and he always, he's always thoughtful of other people, especially of me.
Do you consider Eric to be a threat to our community?
Oh, no, not at all. Of course not. No, not a threat. No, he's a good boy.
Regardless, Eric Thompson is charged. They're going to go ahead with the trial, and he is able to post a $1 million bond and gets released from jail 3 hours after being charged. There are a few ways a lot of defense attorneys would have gone about arguments in court. The first could have been, it's a crime of passion. You're in severe emotional distress is another one. But the problem is, the murder happens 6 months after the affair ends. That's not a crime of passion. It's not like you walk in and catch your partner cheating, and then perhaps you could try and argue that it's a crime of passion. And then as for the emotional distress, other legal experts argue, you can't just argue that you're angry and sad and upset that your wife is cheating. You have to have reached a severe mental capacity that lessens your faculties and causes you to commit a crime. It's very difficult to argue. So Eric's attorneys go for the third option, which is just straight up, Your Honor, my client didn't do it. He didn't do it. In fact, there could be a ton of other parties that just had more motive. The third party defense. And that is why you have DeMarco and Daryl brought in by the prosecutors to testify on the stand. So they want to rule out Eric Thompson being able to use that as any sort of defense. And the prosecutors argue throughout the trial that Eric Thompson is a perfectionist, and Joyce is no longer seeing her affair partner John, but he will always be a stain, a potential in their marriage. He would have to be gone in order for them to move on. Just look at the way he handles the affair. The prosecutors argue he has her sign a post-nump agreement. I mean, the defense argues it was Joyce's idea, but the prosecutors argue, but they still signed it. And he made her tell their families what she did, and she was forbidden from being alone with her siblings because her siblings covered for her and helped her cheat. Which, I mean, some people say is not that crazy of a thing.
I mean, that's...
Some people say it's crazy because if you're forbidding your partner from seeing their siblings alone, then you might as well just divorce at that point because, like, where's the trust? The prosecutors further argue, even if it is true that Joyce is the one that came up with this post-nump, to go through with it is incredibly controlling. She cannot leave no matter what unless she's ready to lose everything, including her child. If you're really not a controlling person, would you not just not sign it and try to make your marriage work? And yes, while the affair was done 6 months before the murder, one of the biggest things in the post-nump is that Joyce was not allowed to ever see a psychic again because the psychic is the one that allegedly told her to have an affair, and she seems like someone who would absolutely listen to everything her psychic says. Well, within the 12 days after signing the post-nump and before John Takuhara is murdered, she goes and sees a psychic. The prosecutor is putting the question in people's minds, did that trigger Eric? Did he realize that she's clearly not going to listen to the post-nump? So that means she could easily just rekindle an affair with John Takuhara.
I thought she was done with psychics, and then I come to find out that she was seeking another one.
So you still didn't trust your wife in December of 2021?
During that psychic incident, yes.
And the night that John Takuhara is killed, Eric says that he's out dumping bricks. Yeah, well, the prosecutors, they go to the dump site. They even bring in, during the trial, the guy that works there. And they're like, do you guys take bricks? No. But the defense is like, well, do you even check what everyone's bringing? And he's like, no. But it's not enough. You know, the prosecutors argue in their statement, 48 seconds is what it took for Eric Thompson to kill John Takuhara. The defense argues Eric is innocent. None of this makes sense. He has a similar truck. He has a similar walk to the guy. Everything is similar, but there's no concrete evidence.
Eric did not kill John Takuhara, and there will not be any evidence of it. I strike that. There will be massive reasonable doubt.
They also go on to victim blame the defense. They say, look at John. He's talking to so many women. So many people have motive, which one person close to John Takuhara hated that and says he was not a homewrecker. He was a nice guy. I mean, he gives back to his community. Like for high school, if you're participating in a sport and you're in a medical field, guess what? You get a $2,000 scholarship from John Takuhara. Like that's the type of guy he is. The defense argues, yeah, he's that, but also someone who just like goes after married women. I mean, one thing can be true, but doesn't mean anyone should be justified in murder. I guess the way that they're trying to say it, though, is that no, he has lots of suspects, but the police have only zeroed in on our client. They're not looking at all the other potential scorned men out there. They're only busy about this one. That's what they're arguing.
That John Takuhara had a track record of cheating, with becoming involved with women who were in relationships, 2,500 messages with another woman. Okay? We didn't follow up on that one. Okay? We didn't follow up on the woman, the messages he ghosted. We didn't follow up on the gambling posts. The detectives told witnesses specifically, John was not involved in any gambling.
So the money, they're trying to pin it on gambling. Like, because the $4,000 in the backpack, the defense is like, well, he also posted about gambling, so maybe he was gambling and he owed someone money. But I mean, the way it said herbs on there, I kind of wonder if he was just buying herbs for traditional medicine.
Yeah. So those are his money. Just left it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And the defense argues that the prosecutor's narrative about Eric Thompson being this controlling guy, it's weird. They say no one forced his wife to sign this post-nump. They put Eric up on the stand. And Eric says, we've been together for so long. She knew that I was never going to leave her, and she knew that she was never going to cheat again. So it was just like, hey, look, I'll prove it to you. So it was more of like a symbolic thing they're trying to argue than like a real thing, especially because it probably wouldn't hold up in court anyway.
Where is the wife during the trial? And
she is sitting right behind Eric Thompson, supporting him the whole way through. She chooses not to testify, but she is there every day of court, every day of trial, for both trials, because the first trial ends up as a mistrial with 3 jurors being hung.
Huh, because they couldn't come to...
No.
Wow.
Also, the fire burned in the backyard, those are from tiki torches. They bring in a fire expert who testifies from the video of the fire that could potentially depict tiki torches. Like, there's no way to say what that fire is from. As for the wheelbarrow with the bucket of melted stuff in there, he says that he uses it to melt metal for work projects because that's what he does for work. Also, they argue that none of this footage makes sense. So they say that the white bucket hat man enters the building for 48 seconds and then he leaves, and John Takuhara is presumably dead at that point. So this man allegedly enters the building at 6:16 p.m., 48 seconds, and then leaves. But there was activity. John's phone was unlocked at 6:18 p.m.
What does that mean?
So they're like, okay, but he leaves 48 seconds after. Who unlocked John Takuhara's phone is what the defense is asking.
Yeah, who did?
It wasn't John. It wasn't anybody else. So that means they're just saying, we don't know, but it seems like your timeline is wrong.
Yeah.
The defense argues, like, if you can't even get that correct, what else are you not getting correct? The prosecutors are arguing, okay, well, it could have been like 6:16 that was about to be 6:17. And like, you know, everyone is arguing lots of different things.
John helps with fertility through acupuncture, right?
I know where you're going with this.
Is there any discussion of the kid with John and during the trial, during the investigation?
The authorities seem really evasive about it for some reason. But there is some netizen speculation that perhaps the motive that Eric Thompson had to want John Takuhara dead could be that maybe there was some questioning of the paternity of their daughter. Of who the dad is for their daughter. Because Joyce went to go see John Takuhara before she got pregnant.
Right.
And then got pregnant, and then afterwards for postpartum. But I don't know. The authorities just like won't touch it. I don't know if it's the fact that they disproved it, which I don't know why they wouldn't outright come out and just put that theory to rest. But they just won't get that involved. Every netizen has their own theory for why authorities don't want to get it involved. Some people believe that it's because this happened in Waipahu, which is a very small, tight-knit community, and they don't want these types of allegations and theories circulating, which then wouldn't it be very easy to do a paternity test and shut it down?
So this is like a thing that many people are discussing, right? Not just me.
No, this is like online. It's definitely not really so much in the trial. And then you have some people saying, well, maybe it's not a great thing to touch because who knows what other doors it could open. Like maybe that's a fear of this tight-knit community, and you have multiple people who were able to successfully conceive. Not that I'm saying that anything strange or unruly happened. But like maybe it's just something that you don't even want to touch because you don't even know what's going to happen once you start touching it.
Right. But to talk about the other side then, like the prosecutor, I would think they will probably want to test it, and because that will give the biggest motive for Eric to commit such a crime, right? If they can prove that. Wouldn't you think that's something that they will really try to prove?
But I also wonder, with the type of evidence they have, if this could also be something that benefits Eric. Don't think about like you and me in a jury pool, but think about like a jury pool of random people. There's already so much victim blaming. There's already so many people who believe that it's like, oh, well, if you are going after vulnerable women who are just desperately trying to start a family.
That's so interesting. What?
So like there could be a way that this could be beneficial for Eric Thompson, or it could just be that it's not true, or it could just be that like maybe the kids don't have to know or be involved in something that adults have done. I don't know.
It's just not talked about at all.
It's not talked about. And so all netizens can do is speculate, and speculations are never great, right? So it's like, but how can you not when it's not talked about, when it's not really uncovered during the trial?
Right, okay.
So Eric Thompson, he testifies and he just says like, I was pissed. I was really disappointed about the affair.
I was really disappointed. It just didn't make sense that like John helped us through the pregnancy, and I just didn't understand why he would do that.
The only thing that they really have on him is the motive. And I'm not saying like he's innocent. That's the only thing they have on him. I'm just saying like clear, cut and dry. There's no argument for the motive. There's lots of arguments for the truck and the white hat and the fire. And he says, I mean, it just didn't make sense that John helped us through the pregnancy. And I mean, I just didn't understand why he would do that if later he's just gonna blow it up. The first couple days I was thinking about calling him, chewing him out, but then I came to the realization that I don't think I could have said anything to make things better. And I don't think I could get him to say sorry or feel bad. I mean, what's the point? I mean, I think he obviously didn't care about what I thought or my family, so I mean, I just realized there's no point.
I don't think I could get him to say sorry or feel bad. I mean, what's the point, you know?
So he says, like, there's no point in me confronting him, talking to him or anything. And as for his wife, he says, I think she was truly sorry for it. She made the effort. She never talked to John again.
I came to the realization that, you know, the problem was with me and Joyce. It wasn't, I mean, she cut him off and he was a non-factor after that. I realized I was kind of neglecting her. Sometimes she, I think I was taking her for granted sometimes.
Some people liked his testimony, others didn't. Some people thought that he was very evasive and that he kind of changed his sentiment a few times here and there, but like nothing explosive. He wasn't impeached on anything too crazy. Others say that he just had like this weird energy where he was trying to downplay it and like trying not to seem upset about the affair. So it's really just how you read the micro expressions of someone on the stand. One netizen writes, unpopular opinion, the husband shouldn't serve time. If he is an otherwise lawful citizen and a good spouse, how many times in the past has an affair partner meddled in another's marriage and got killed? It's a well-known fact that you risk your own well-being when you engage in an affair with someone who is in an exclusive monogamous relationship. If you are a cheating spouse or the affair partner and you decide to carry out your urges to interfere in someone else's love life, then you must be ready for the consequences, no matter how minuscule or major. Someone argues back, so you're pro-murder? Would another form of punishment not fulfill your seeming bloodlust? Another person writes, absolutely, John doesn't deserve to die, but he cheated with multiple women, he had an MO, befriend clients that are women, have intimate relations with them when they're vulnerable, and in many cases ghost them when he was done. It was bound to catch up with him, and unfortunately for him, it did. He effed around too many times and found out. He messed with a woman whose husband was nuts. Karma was not a bitch this time, it was an angry husband. To which someone responds, dating a married woman means you deserve to die? Thank God people like you aren't doing policy work. And then I think that one thing that really helped Eric's case was actually the other two husbands that testified. I think the prosecutors had to bring them in to show, hey, these are not third parties that had motive. We already investigated them. They have no, they're good. They're clear. The defense, if we don't bring them in, they're going to try to build them up as like these crazy monsters behind the scenes that could have done it. But like, look at them. They're fine. They're fine people. I don't know if that's exactly what happened when they testified. I think one thing, it could have shown to the jurors a pattern. Again, I'm not saying that, but like it could have been interpreted that way. And then the second thing is, one of them, Daryl is crazy. Daryl's on the stand and he like clearly doesn't want to be there and he's very angry about it.
These are all like recorded, right?
Yeah, and he's just like, this is ridiculous. I don't know why I'm here. I mean, like, I know why I'm here, but like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is so not cool. Why am I here?
How do you feel about having to testify in this case?
Again, testify again. I'm not happy about it.
Why not?
Because you have nothing to do with it.
Like, that's his energy the whole time. And then he's like, I don't think it's weird to format your phone unless you have something to hide. Not that I had anything to hide or anything like that. And it's just like a whole thing. And then there's a whole problem with the DNA. The police state that they took a sample from the inside top of the white bucket hat and they claim that it matches Eric Thompson. That is the strongest piece of evidence by far that Eric Thompson has to the crime. But that gets thrown out. The FBI does an audit of the Hawaii Police Department's procedures unrelated to this case. And they state that HPD has not been using validated methods for DNA testing. Validation is very important. So you have to make sure whatever tools and softwares and method and instruments that you're using is validated, that it produces precise and accurate results before you start using such devices and mechanisms in DNA testing. Okay, think about it like this. The weight of something is very important. You get a scale to weigh this object, but you never test the scale with any other objects or another scale to make sure that the weight is proper. But you just take the first number it spits out and you trust it with your life.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
What in the odds?
So that's what HPD was doing with DNA testing, and it was really bad because it's a double-edged sword, which means this type of testing puts innocent people in jail, but it also lets guilty people go free.
Right.
We then puts both the hat, right? Something like this, the hat. Both the hat and this glove inside a cellophane envelope. So tell me, is that not contamination?
There's also no phone cell towers placing Eric Thompson at the scene of the crime. Like, there was really not a lot. And that is why the very first trial ends with a mistrial. Not an acquittal, but a mistrial. They decide to go through with the second trial. And this time, the juror comes back guilty. But even that, people are concerned about. There seems to be an appeal that is going to be in process, but one of the jurors did an interview after the fact, and they were like, yeah, he probably did it. And people are saying,
did it?
Yeah, probably is not good enough.
Oh.
Yeah. The part that's very sad is, like, in this case, he probably did it, right? But in other cases, maybe they didn't do it. Maybe there's not enough evidence for sure. It's hard for John Takahara's family to hear comments like this because it's not about John Takahara. It's more so about the justice system, but I'm sure it feels targeted. For example, one comment reads, he absolutely had the most motive. However, the evidence was circumstantial and the video recordings place him in the area, but not necessarily in the business. And we don't even know if that's him in the white bucket hat. I don't know every single detail, but the dude was very close to getting away with it, which is crazy. Others say, I personally think, this is the comment, no one has clean hands. Everyone was damaged. No one had any maturity to think about how greatly others would be affected. I feel the worst for the child. Some people feel angry that Joyce Thompson is not facing any consequences. She did the worst thing initially. Mm-hmm. She's the one that had the affair. Mm-hmm. John was likely not dating anyone, had no obligations to anyone. And yes, I think that objectively and emotionally, we can feel some type of way about the other party in a marriage. We can also feel some type of way about him being the acupuncturist and her being the patient. We can have all of those feelings. But in terms of relationship-wise, she probably did the worst thing, which is cheat on her husband. And then he ends up dead, and now he's going to prison for life. There is possibility of parole, though. So that's not opted out. But a lot of people have sentiments about that. Others have sentiments about, some people were saying some crazy things of, he should have just killed his wife instead of John. It's some crazy, a lot of people had opinions and they were not afraid to list them out online about this case. Others are just saying, it's just weird. He probably did it, but it's supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In the first trial, the jurors couldn't even decide if it was a man or a woman in the white bucket hat. Some jurors also don't know what Joyce knows about any of this. So, let's say Eric, Joyce's husband, did kill John. Did Joyce know and she's now supporting her husband because of guilt, obligation, fear? Or is she sitting there my husband never wears white bucket hats. It's totally not him. What is it?
Right.
During the sentencing, many of John's family and friends were able to give impact statements for the judge to consider. And a lot of them were pointedly towards Eric, saying, you will sit in a cell, in a 6x10 jail cell every day and have nothing but time to think, and you deserve that. You took someone's life. John's sister states, it is the day our lives forever changed. It is the day our hearts broke down, and it is the day true evil showed its face, brutally ripped from this world, taken from us and left to be found by Mom. Which, by the way, Lily Takahara, John's mom, she was there every day. She testified. And she held her composure, and she was, and she was the one that found John. The sister continues, over the last 3 years, I have asked myself the same question over and over. How did Eric Thompson think that committing such a monstrous and senseless crime would solve his problems? His heartless and soulless disregard for human life has managed to destroy many, many lives. Another one of John's closest friends states, Joyce will now have to pick up the pieces for the destruction both of you have created and raise her daughter without a dad. She will one day have to explain to her daughter what caused her dad to kill someone. As for Eric, he will have to serve at least 15 years before he's considered eligible for parole. And with that is where I leave you with this case. Who do you think did it? I will say most netizens do think it's Eric Thompson. And I will say most netizens, like there are some weird people who are victim blaming John Takuhara. I think that there can be more constructive conversations around being an acupuncturist and what it could mean ethically in not sleeping or having affairs with clients. But I think when it just comes from like a, well, he effed around and found out, I think that's an unproductive, weird victim blaming conversation to have. And even so, I do see a lot of netizens saying, even though he is an acupuncturist who maybe have violated some ethical rules of being with a client, does that mean that you can commit the worst ethical rule of not killing someone? So there's a lot of conversations happening online. What are your thoughts about this case? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.